Okay, this is another interesting one. This is the AT&T data breach that was in the news in the last few days. This is not the one from, I think, March. So AT&T has a challenge. All right, so AT&T revealed a substantial data breach affecting a significant portion of its customer base. Right now, the breach involves the theft of call logs. They're saying call logs, estimated 109 million customers. And this incident and breach is related to their Snowflake account, their cloud-based data warehousing analytics platform. And you have heard the term Snowflake a couple times, and how many organizations have recently been affected by this Snowflake dashboard incident. So this is related to third party or supply chain breaches, and so Ticketmaster is the first one that comes to mind. All right, so they're saying that this particular AT&T breach spanned from April 14 through April 25th, 2024, during which threat actors gained unauthorized access to the Snowflake account. And then saying the compromised data pertained to these call logs is dated from May 1st to October 31st, 2022, and then again January 2nd, 2023. So the data is logs are the records are from 2022. The breach was from 2024. Okay. Anyway, so here's the breakdown of the call data or metadata as AT&T called it. So the telephone numbers of AT&T wireline customers as well as customers of other carriers. Telephone numbers that interacted with AT&T or the mobile virtual network operator, which is known as MVNO wireless numbers. The frequency of interactions, the cumulative duration of the calls for each day and month, and then for a subset of records, one or more cell site identification numbers were exposed. And the breach did not compromise the actual content of the calls or text messages, which would be like the customer names, the personal information like social security numbers. So basically, what they're telling you is it's the metadata. So again, telephone numbers that interacted with it, the frequency of the interactions, the cumulative duration of the calls. These are things that were stolen. Okay. So what did AT&T do? They took immediate action. They reached out to governing bodies like the FBI. It did include, again, this is one of many Snowflake incidents. And then AT&T also had a breach back in March 2024. So it's really funny or sad because it's really hard to get information online that's not about the other breach. So you have to be specific. You have to look at the data. And it was kind of hard going back and forth with the 8K form. All right, so the call logs. What are call logs? These are records of calls made and received, including usually like the date, the time, how long the call was, phone numbers that were involved. The sources describe a data breach where a threat actor stole call log for approximately 109 million people. So again, 109 million from AT&T. All right, so the data breach. So what is a data breach? So security incident in which sensitive or protected or confidential data is copied, transmitted, viewed, or stolen, used by an individual unauthorized to do so. So every time something like this happens, when there's a press release or there's information from the company, they'll say it's an unauthorized access to their files or to their data. So AT&T experienced a data breach where threat actors stole call logs for approximately 109 million customers. That means someone did something they weren't supposed to do. So what's the dark web? This is the part of the internet that is intentionally hidden from search engines and requires specific software, configurations, or authorization to access. It's often associated with illegal activities. The AT&T data-specific fields were found in a data set released on the dark web. So deferments. So in the articles that I read, there was a comment about deferments, which is the FBI allowed AT&T to postpone notifying the public about the data breach on 2 occasions. These deferments granted on May 9th and June 5th, 2024, were issued under Item 1.05C of Form 8K. This basically was from the Department of Justice, the form is, and determined that delaying this public disclosure was justified due to potential risks to national security. The FBI, AT&T, and Department of Justice collaborated throughout this process, sharing important threat intelligence. Collaboration intended to support the FBI's investigation and AT&T's response to the incident. So there's really not a lot of information on it, other than it's very similar to the Snowflake incidents that have occurred with other Snowflake customers. Okay, so what is the Form 8K? So the Snowflake, the Ticketmaster, you'll hear this form with a lot of incidents because it's important for investors to know when these things happen. So this is a report of unscheduled material events or corporate changes at a company that could be of importance to investors or the Securities and Exchange Commission. AT&T filed a Form 8K to report this data breach. And so basically what it is people who invest want to know when things happen. And usually these things, not always, but usually these things have an effect on the money that they have invested and how the decisions that they might make to invest more, pull out, or invest less, that kind of stuff. And so this is important for people to know. So MFA, multi-factor authentication, this is the process of using more than one way of proving that issue. So Snowflake did introduce a mandatory multi-factor authentication enforcement for their workspace administrators to protect against such breaches. It did take them a while to do this, and I want to say it was actually more recent than not. So even after Ticketmaster and a few other things, I'm not sure Snowflake did it really quickly. So who is Snowflake? This is a cloud-based data platform that provides data warehousing, data lakes, data engineering, data science, data application development, and secure data sharing services. Not sure if they should put secure in here right now, but that's okay. Everyone is going to be a victim, and it's easy to say Snowflake is not doing a great job, but that's not necessarily the case. There's a lot of bad guys out there, and it's not that easy. The sources state that AT&T experienced data breach where a threat actor stole call logs from the company's Snowflake account. And so there you go. Snowflake has contributed to quite a few of these data breaches with their platform. I'm sure they're doing the best they can, but it does kind of go back to there's got to be a lot of due diligence. There's got to be a lot of security, and everyone will be a victim at one point. You just have to do the best you can and make sure you have processes in place to protect yourself and your customers and your partners. So, what are the takeaways for this? So, you definitely want to implement multi factor authentication. It may not totally eliminate challenges, but it might reduce it. It might reduce the amount of data they can get, it might reduce how far they can get. Least privilege, kind of the same thing. In your company, all companies, you should make sure that you have role based access and make sure that the privileges are only what is needed to do the job. Awareness training, educate your employees, educate your partners, educate all of your staff, everyone that's involved in accessing information or sharing information on your company really needs to be aware of the repercussions and what they can do to contribute to reduce this challenge. Security monitoring of all sorts, timely and transparent communication. This particular one, AT&T, part of what they were talking about is how they participated and engaged with the FBI and with the Department of Justice and their customers. And so a lot of this will help reduce the impact of these breaches. It may not stop them, but customers need to know when things are happening. Investors need to know when things have happened. Your partners need to know what happened. So, like with Snowflake, it was important for Snowflake to say, "Hey, something happened. You're our partner. You're our investors. You are part of our village or environment, and we want to make sure that you understand what happened. This is what we're doing to protect you, reduce the risk, and this is what we think you can do to help. All right, and so that's the AT&T data breach. Like I said, there's been more than one this year, and Snowflake has had quite a few challenges this year, or at least people who are using Snowflake, partners of Snowflake. It's tough out there. Do the best you can. Thank you. See you later. Bye.